Hi, I'm Julie Kantor, CEO of Twomentor. Now, if you look at our name, take the word mentor. We wanted it to be more inclusive. So, by putting TWO in front of it, you get the word women and men into mentoring. At Twomentor, we are passionate about helping our clients build both mentoring cultures and elevating women, especially in STEM fields. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. When girls grow up, we tell them you can be anything. You can be a rocket scientist, an engineer, an environmentalist. In fact, you can also be president of the United States of America. But in STEM classes, girls often feel pushed out by boys. It's kind of like being in a sandbox and a lot of kids are playing, but you don't quite fit in to that sandbox and you definitely don't want sand in your eye. But they also feel pulled out by their girlfriends, family, and faculty comments. One young woman shared with us that her physics professor said, "Oh, you're much too pretty to be in this. You should get another major. You're much too pretty to be in the lab." And also by friends saying, "Hey, do you want to be one out of two women in the IT major? Why don't you join us in marketing or another area of focus?" But today, 71% of jobs will require STEM skills. And we have about multiple, I think it's about 3 million last time I checked, job openings for people with STEM skills. Now, women are 50% of the workforce in the United States, but we are 24% of the STEM workforce. And unfortunately, 50% of women drop out the first 10 years in STEM-related positions. Now, STEM jobs, what's really important is that STEM jobs pay women, on average, 92 cents on a dollar, what men make, versus other careers that pay women 76 cents on a dollar. And for Black women, that's 64 cents on a dollar. Hispanic women, on average, is 54 cents on a dollar. So STEM careers really have a better pay gap than other careers. And also, if you only have, for example, a high school diploma, degree, STEM jobs will pay you 59 cents on a dollar, 59 cents, 59% more. And if you've got a college degree, 40% more. They just, in general, pay higher. So why are women leaving STEM careers? We looked at a lot of research from Catalyst and also talked to about 1,000 women in STEM. One of the reasons is unconscious bias and gender stereotyping, not wanting to be the only woman, or this perception that these jobs, especially technology and engineering, are for men. Lack of clear performance evaluation standards. How do I know I'm going to be successful in this job? How will I know that I would get promoted and more based on what metrics of success? And often lack of clear performance standards. There's just fewer women at the top, fewer role models, and we hear this time and time again. Now, a mentor is someone who talks to you or with you. A sponsor is someone who talks about you behind closed doors. Men are more likely to be sponsored. In fact, according to economist Sylvia Ann Hewlett, men are 46% more likely to be sponsored. So I think as we look at better engagement, stronger engagement, building stronger cultures in our workforce, we need to take a few minutes here to look at our millennial workforce. Right now, we've got 5 generations in the workforce. So we've got our traditionalists who were born between 1930 and 1945, are baby boomers, 1945 to 1965. Generation X, we're in our 40s, 1965 to 1980. Millennials, which according to Pew is 1980 to 2005. And then the newest generation that'll be joining the workforce, there's some debate whether they start in 2000, but they're called Generation Z. This slide, this is really fascinating, that in 2005, the number of baby boomers in the workforce was 45%. Well, that has completely flip-flopped. In 2015, 45% of our workforce is millennials and expected to grow to about 75%. Between 2005 and 2015, Generation Xers have pretty much stayed, they actually declined a little bit to 21%. And baby boomers are now 31% of the workforce. This is really important because we're going to be looking at what we call a silver tsunami. With more baby boomers retiring, who will they pass the baton to? Where will the knowledge transfer take place? And there's just not enough Generation Xers for all the leadership opportunities. So we need to look at millennials, and I had a really good talk with Jim Clifton at Gallup at a global talent summit, and he really shared that in his generation, it was about getting a paycheck and then getting a car and then getting a home and getting married and having 4 kids and, being able to travel for vacations about 100 miles from where you lived. But today, millennials are looking for much more than a paycheck. They're looking to be grown and developed. They're looking for companies that will focus on their growth. They really want to have a second family at work because they spend so much time there and really meaningful connections. And they're very focused on social justice. So millennials are driven by purpose, whereas previous generations were driven by paycheck as the first and top. I don't know if you've heard the term, but my friend Julia Beck at 40 Weeks coined it. It's called being millennialed. And 60% of millennials will leave their jobs in less than 3 years. And when we look at the replacement costs, according to Goldman Sachs, it's $15,000 to $25,000 that a company loses each time they lose a millennial employee. Millennials very much want to be mentored. 72% of millennials said they'd like to be their own boss. 79% said, look, if I'm going to have a boss, I would like a boss who's got a mentoring or coaching style of management. And also IBM has done a ton of research, and coaching style management always works better than a strong, hierarchical, fear-based, and otherwise culture. 75% want to be mentored and deem it crucial to their professional success. So millennials are looking for companies where they will grow in leadership and development and learning, where they will find purpose and where they will find mentors. So if you want to retain your millennials, we need to start mentoring our millennials. Let's talk a little bit more about mentoring. There's just a huge return on investment that we don't talk enough about in the mentoring and sponsorship space. And people mentor for careers. They mentor their friends or their children of their friends, and for psychosocial reasons or for career reasons. And also, when they are role models, they want to be a role model, and that's more correlated with higher job performance for the mentor. A mentor, as we share, talks to you. A sponsor talks about you behind closed doors. And the percentage likelihood that a female will advance if they have a sponsor, it's an increase of 23%, according to Fast Company. So mentoring prepares people to move up, whereas sponsorship makes it happen. You've got that internal champion who says, why not Sarah? Why not Susie? Why not Brendan for that promotion? Women who mentor are much more likely to mentor. 54% of women, according to DDI World, were asked to be a mentor. 20% said they were never asked to be a mentor, and 63% of women actually had a mentor. So how do you get started in a mentor relationship? It can be as simple as, why don't we meet for a cup of coffee? And then identifying 2 to 3 goals that your mentee has, or that you have if you want to be mentored, and try to really get to know each other. And what are some goals? And maybe your mentor had similar goals and can share from his or her experience. By the way, when I talk to women in STEM, the vast majority had a mentor. They had a male mentor. So, and often a male sponsor. There were just more men in positions of power. We really want to encourage mentors. You don't have to be perfect. Just share from your experience, encourage, ask questions, use a Socratic method where your mentee can come up with solutions for him or herself and offer constructive feedback. Celebrate small wins. We recommend you agree to meet 2 times a month and go over key objectives. And there's certainly many ways to meet with your mentee, whether it's face-to-face or online using Google Chat or Skype or WhatsApp. We recommend that you bring in interns to your company and mentor them. This is their first job, their first foray into the world of work. And we really can expose them to some of the great joys of work. Also, onboarding and having a designated mentor when you come to a company. Also, we recommend the early workplace mentoring and sponsorship. Peer mentoring for mid-career women, and sponsorship, I will say, is crucial for mid-career women. Most women leave their careers mid-career because they didn't have a sponsor. 80% of companies said mentoring improved individual performance and achievement. And this is utterly fascinating. At Sun Microsystems, mentors were promoted 6 times more after 5 years. Mentees were promoted 5 times more than a comparison group that did not join the mentoring initiative. And retention rates were 20% higher amongst both the mentors and the mentees. So you've got this win-win-win. The mentor wins, the mentee wins, and the company wins with stronger retention rates. And keep in mind also, when we lose a high-performing employee, one could argue it's a year's salary that we've lost. The cost of recruitment, the cost of training that person, getting them up to speed. If the person was in a sales or business development role, how do you replicate and rebuild those relationships? Because it's often about relationships. And other costs like employee morale of other people that worked with those individuals. And if they see a lot of transition in their department, it puts more work on them. And sometimes they feel they're doing other people's jobs, but also in general, they just might feel other people are moving on to potentially better opportunities, and it might get them thinking as well. So there's a win-win-win in mentoring. Again, a win for the mentor, a win for the mentee, and a win for the company. But what's really interesting is there was in Forbes Global Diversity and Inclusion Study, major companies spent 65% of major companies with 500 million more employees put money into recruitment. 53% put money into development, and only 44% put money into retention. 23% of employees voluntarily leave their jobs due to a lack of development and training. So an area we can really improve is to beef up development and training and mentorship and sponsorship. So that's what we just wanted to share with you. And our company, Twomentor, we do provide mentor training. After working with 400 or 500 companies, I found that most companies had good intentions. The mentoring was done in the informal space, and they didn't have any formalized training. And by informal mentoring, they hoped people would mentor, but it wasn't deliberate. Mentors weren't being recognized. It wasn't part of people's performance reviews. So we really recommend and work with companies as an extended part of your team on how do you build a mentoring culture and offer mentor training. We do a lot of national speaking on these issues at conferences and workforce conferences and workshops, and diversity conferences, and also have started to do a lot of flash mentor training. We had an amazing experience in Chennai, India, with about 50 nonprofit leaders. We ran a flash mentoring session, and one woman approached us afterwards and said, I had a problem, and my mentee, this was her mentee for 6 minutes, actually solved my problem. Another woman said, this was the first time that she shared a challenge that she was having, and she shared it in the flash mentoring session and wanted to follow up with the woman that she spoke with, who had some really great insights. I'm Julie Kantor again, and you can reach out to us or come to our website at twomentor.com. Really want to thank you for taking the time to learn about STEM, mentoring, sponsorship, and elevating women and millennials to drive much higher retention in our companies. It's actually the people who mentor at our companies are the people who drive retention at our companies. Thank you and have a wonderful day.